what are the key factors of any business evaluation?
I call it the magic valuation formula. It's cash flow or cash profits, if you will, growth and risk. At the end of the day, any business has to generate cash or it has no value. It's not an income generating asset. Now, if you're in a business, say the technology world, then you may delay that cash gratification for a long time because there's going to be a really big pot of cash at the end of the rainbow. That's the venture capital model. But for most businesses, you need to be generating positive cash flow today. And the more cash you generate, the more valuable the business is.
I know it's very, very basic, but can you elaborate on that? On the cash flow, the equation, the cash flow and the value of the business.
So the equation is simply cash flow times 1 plus your growth rate divided by your required rate of return minus your growth rate, or otherwise known as the capitalization rate.
And now in English?
Cash flow is in the numerator. So as you increase cash flow, it's going to increase the value of your business. The G term is your growth. It's great if you have cash flow that's stable. It's even better if it's actually growing on a fairly consistent basis. If you give me a business with $1,000 a year cash flow and it's not growing, and one that has $1,000 of cash flow but it is growing, I want the one that's growing. I think fairly simple. Okay, you don't need to be a genius to figure that out. The denominator has this term, required return minus growth. That's also known as the capitalization rate. Required return is essentially a way that we use to express risk. The higher the risk of the company, the greater the required rate of return. For example, a target rate of return for a technology startup is probably going to be something in the 35 to 40% range because the failure rate is so high. There's so many unknowns. You may not even have fully identified the market. You may not have fully developed your product yet. Lots of risk there. I've even valued companies with a required rate of return as high as 100% a year because they were so risky. Conversely, a business that is relatively stable and solid may have a required rate of return of, say, 7% or 5%. Apple is a good example of that. If you back out the math for them, right, their cost of capital or the cost of capital is roughly 5 or 6%. So if that number is in the denominator, the higher the risk, that's going to lower the value of the result. And so therefore the lower the value of the business. Now here's the kicker. Because the risk value is in the denominator, you get a multiplier effect, right? If I increase cash flow by 10%, because on the numerator, my value goes up by 10%. If I decrease risk by 10%, because in the denominator, my value goes up by 100%.
Wow.
So here's the thing. If you do both, then you've got a home run on your hands.
Wow.
Right? So people ask me a lot, what do I need to do to increase the value of my business? And they expect me to tell them, make more profits and grow. And I say, no, figure out the risk points of your business and manage them. The rest will take care of itself. And it has far more impact, and you can control your risk much more than often you can control your profitability and growth.
Amazing. Okay, so now that we understand all these factors, can you repeat that formula again? Now that we understand it, please.
So value equals cash flow times 1 plus growth rate divided by your required return minus your growth rate. So if you can do 7th grade algebra, you can value a business.
Hey guys, if you like that, go check out the next interview that's going to help you reach the tipping point of your success.